Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Money Mindset Show. My name is Krista Wetmore. I thought I would change it up today and talk about travel reward cards because it feels like summer outside, it's warmed up, and I know I have travel plans, and I've had a couple of clients ask me about what type of travel cards are best for their needs. So I thought I would take a little dive into that today and explain some of the benefits if you do have some travel cards that you may not be aware of. So there's some pretty neat little functions on them. So credit cards in particular, and as a financial advisor, we always recommend, obviously, never carry balance on your credit card. And the reason for that is obviously the interest. So you don't want to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in interest if you don't need to. So credit cards are extremely profitable for the credit card companies, and they want to ensure that they have their card in your wallet. So because of that, what's happened in the marketplace, it's become very competitive, which is great for consumers. And what's ended up happening is a lot of the card issuers have added additional benefits to cards that they have. So the features I'm going to talk about today are typically available in cards if you're paying an annual fee between $100 to about $150 in that space. Now, there are some cards out there that have a higher annual fee than $100 to $150. Likewise, there are cards that have a less expensive annual fee. But I'm just going to focus on the true travel card and give you some of the ideas of what the perks are. So let's jump right into it. So for the points itself, travel points, most people know that, for example, $1 spent will translate to X amount of points for accumulation. Now, years ago, those points could only be used for airfare. That's not the case with a lot of cards on the market today. So, for example, oftentimes, many companies, you can redeem the points for merchandise, even cash. It's not necessarily just airlines. You can book cruises, hotel rooms, car rentals, for example. So it's very flexible now as far as what you can redeem your points for. Likewise, years ago, you can only redeem your points for example, a flight itself. It did not include taxes or additional airport fees. And typically that's not the case as well. And many different credit card carriers do not have blackout. So myself personally, I like the flexibility to be able to choose what type of carrier, airline carrier I want to use, which gives me the flexibility to look for some seat sales as well. So the points themselves have evolved and changed quite a bit in the last few years. I think most people know that you do have car rental insurance. So one thing I'm just going to mention about the car rental insurance, and there's a little caveat there, most credit card companies will have a cap as far as the dollar amount, what it's covered for. For example, the card that I use has a cap of $65,000, and I can only rent a car for 48 consecutive days. So if I'm down in Florida and I'm feeling a little free, and I want to rent a premium car. So if I want to rent a Mercedes convertible, obviously that car is more than $65,000. So I want to ensure that there's no gaps there in the coverage. So just check that before you do rent a car. Airline fees. I'm going to, whoops, I think I just deleted that off the screen by mistake rather than bringing it up. There's some pretty neat fees that are covered. And again, a lot of people don't know about this. So for example, there's a credit card out there, and obviously I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get calls on this from any of the issuers. But for example, you can have your airline, the parking at the airport covered up to $100 a year. You can have your baggage, check-in baggage fee covered for up to $100 for a year. And you can also have your seat selection covered up to $50 a year. So those fees right there, that's a $250 benefit, again, that most people don't even know they have, which well more than offsets the annual cost of the card itself. So I'm going to jump into trip cancellation insurance, and I think this is a huge benefit, especially if you are a business owner, even if you're not, if you're traveling quite a bit. I love this feature. Some cards, and again, a little caveat on it, some cards have a cap of age. So for example, if you're over 65 years of age, you may not be covered for this. So again, just check the fine print on the card that you do have, or choose a card that suits your needs the best. So for trip cancellation insurance, so if I'm booking a flight online and the airline, it pops up, would you like trip cancellation insurance? I know that with my card, I'm covered up to $2,500. And that's $2,500 per person. So that covers myself, my husband, and dependent children. So it's very flexible. The other thing it covers too that some people are not aware of, it's trip interruption insurance. So if we are away on vacation in Europe, and say, for example, I think it was last year or the year before, there was a volcano, I think in Iceland, that had become active, I guess, and there was a lot of ash in the air, and it caused a lot of flight delays. And that can add up to, obviously, quite an expense. So trip interruption insurance on the card as well covers each person, myself, spouse, and any dependent children up to about $5,000. But again, check your credit card to see what those limits are. A lot of the cards, again, the premium cards, cover some things here that, again, most people don't know about. So, for example, if your flight is delayed more than 4 hours, a lot of the travel cards will cover up to $500 as an expense per person. If the flight is delayed more than 6 hours, you may be eligible for reimbursement of fees if you need to buy clothing, hotel rooms, rental cars, etc., up to $3,000 per person. So that's just for a delayed flight. So again, we're talking on an annual fee of about $100 to $150. So obviously there's a lot of benefits for that. Unfortunately, I've used that as well. You are covered if your bag is lost or stolen. There's a benefit typically of about $1,000 per person as well. And if all these benefits are through the credit card company, not through the airlines. So when I'm traveling, what I usually do, if I come upon a situation, flight's delayed, travel plans are interrupted for whatever the reason, the first thing that I do is I call the credit card company to see what coverage I have, and then secondly, I would call the airline. Just going to bring up extended warranty. This is on pretty much all of the cards, and this is a feature that I look for 100% of the time. So an extended warranty feature means that, so for example, I go to the store, I'm buying a little stereo for the cottage, and I'm at the cashier getting checked out, and the person will ask, typically will ask if you want extended warranty on that. And sometimes that can be a little bit expensive. Most travel cards will cover extended warranties for an additional 1 to 2 years. The time frame really depends on the type of card that you have, but check that feature because that can save you quite a bit of money as well. Oh, this feature I really love, purchase insurance. And this is a well-kept secret, but unfortunately, I've known a lot of clients that have used it or have called me and have suggested that they reach out to the credit card company for reimbursement. So typically what happens if you purchase an item, usually there's a time frame. So whether it's within 90 days or 180 days, and again, it depends on the card. If your item is stolen or damaged, you may be eligible to have the item replaced, repaired, or reimbursed for the fee. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We had friends of ours in Ontario who just before Christmas this past year had some folks visiting, and they were shopping on Black Friday, literally shopped all day, filled the SUV with bags and all their shopping and all the great deals that they had. Unfortunately, somebody broke in, they smashed the back window of the SUV and stole everything. Luckily for them, everyone had been using their credit cards, and because they had purchase insurance, they called a credit card company, and they were reimbursed for all the items that were stolen. And likewise, if you had to purchase those items with cash, that would have been covered. Little caveat with that, and my recommendation is when you're shopping, typically the cashiers will ask, do you want your receipt with you or in the bag? Always take it with you, because that is one item. If you need to make a claim, you do have to submit the receipt. Worst case scenario, you can always go back to the store and get another one. And actually, I had a client who was, I'll give you another example, a client who was out of the country and bought a little Swatch watch for her son as a present. When she got home about 2 or 3 weeks later, the watch didn't work. So first thing that she did, call the credit card company, couldn't be repaired, it was going to be too expensive to get repaired, so they just reimbursed her. Likewise, I'll give you an example of something that happened to myself. My poor husband, he bought me this beautiful little vase for an anniversary, and it was really stunning piece of work. And it was, I had it up on a shelf, and the fellow who we had hired to clean our house every couple of weeks came in, he was looking at it, and when he went to put it back on the shelf, he just missed the edge of the shelf, and it dropped and shattered on the floor. And anyway, he was distraught and very upset. And I said to him, don't worry about it, because I know it's covered. So again, I called the credit card company, and they reimbursed me for the cost of that item. So again, there's a lot of benefits here that people may not be aware of. So another item, another option that you would have is concierge service. So if you're traveling outside the country or even inside the country, and there's a sporting event that you want information on, or try to find tickets or a festival or reservations for a golf course, you have all you have to do if you do have this benefit is contact the 1-800 number, get in touch with the concierge service, and then they can look at booking reservations for you, hotel reservations, train reservations, anything that you have questions on, they help. And I know I've used the services over the years, and it makes a big difference. I know everyone has their smartphones with them, and they can Google information, but sometimes you may not know what's available, or you may not have the time, so you can let them do the work for you. Out of province. So some credit card companies call this out of province insurance. Some will call it out of country insurance. Just look at the fine print on this. Typically, again, there are age limits. So typically over 65 years of age, you're not covered. However, even if you're under 65 years of age, sometimes there's a window, you're only covered up to X amount of days. Sometimes additional coverage can be purchased, but this is a great feature as well that most cards will have on it. So it covers such things as accidental dental. If you are outside the country and you need to be emergency a plane to be transported back into the country, they would cover the costs on that as well. And then there's other assistance that the cards can help you with. So for example, I had clients last year that were traveling to Europe, and what had happened was their passports, one of the passports was lost or stolen. They weren't sure what happened. So I get a little frantic email, vacation was going well, we're not sure what we're going to do. I referred back, contact the 1-800 number on the back of your credit card. They can give you information on consulates, embassies, and help with that paperwork and walk you through what you need to do. So again, if you are traveling, there's so many benefits on this card, on the cards, that it's really great. And typically what I do, even before I travel, is I just look at my card again and just see what benefits I have to make sure I'm aware of it. A lot of the cards nowadays will have travel centers as well. And a benefit of booking travel through a travel center is if there's any change in flights, which just happened to me recently, rather than contacting the airline, I just had to go back through to the travel center, and they looked after rebooking all the flights for me. So it made my life really, really easy. And of course, another benefit that I really like is access to airport lounges. So if you do have a long layover, a few hours in an airport, some of the cards do have that free benefit, or you receive X amount of free passes every year into the lounges. So before I close out, I just want to say that the credit card industry as well, because it is so profitable for those issuers, have really come out and upped the ante as far as the number of benefits that you can receive as a consumer. Now, my only little caveat on that is if you do have an incorporated company and you are looking for a corporate credit card, there's some great news out there. So even the last few years, credit cards, if you wanted to have it in your company name, they were either difficult to get or hard to qualify for. Sometimes they were expensive and the benefits weren't really good. So some of the charter banks anyway are starting to come out with some really cool similar type benefits that I've just spoken about, but for corporate accounts. So that's a really good benefit. So again, if you have any questions over anything that I've gone through today, and again, I just wanted to wish everyone safe travels this summer. If you are traveling, definitely look at the benefits that you have on one of your travel cards, because it is oftentimes well worth paying an annual fee for. Don't forget though, you definitely don't want to carry a balance on it going forward, because you don't want to pay interest on it. But again, if you have any questions on anything that I've reviewed, please let me know. Likewise, if there's anything you'd like me to review in upcoming shows, let me know as well. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.